Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Hanging Out with Temi. I've been laughing and smiling all day, and you know why in a minute. And hope everyone is doing very well. It's been an amazing weekend that we had. Uh, but firstly, I need to welcome Pastor Juliana Anake Ugo. Prof, you have to welcome this amazing woman.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be hanging out with Temi and all you ladies today. I am glad to be in the house. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I
You're
kept you
welcome.
secret for everyone. No one knows, but now they know they're going to be screaming
Now
there.
they know.
Now they know I
Oh
was
my
with
goodness.
all day yesterday. I was with your two sisters. I was with Tessie. Like in church and after church, I was with Blessing. I was texting them. They didn't know what was happening.
Oh,
I
I'm
want
sure they will be surprised now.
to be surprised, but thank you so much, Pastor. My sister from another mother, Prof. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How are you?
Very, very good. Are you back in the country?
I am back in the
Oh,
country,
of
so I'm jet
course,
lagged. I arrived
I can
yesterday,
see your
so I'm
library.
like in Melbourne, so which is why I'm in my study, as you can see.
I can see your
Oh,
library. Welcome, welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Firstly, we wish Liz a fantastic settling down in Africa. She's gone back on this Friday, and
wow.
we bless you. But let me introduce this amazing woman to you. Pastor Juliana Anaki Google. She's a marriage counselor, relationship and marriage counselor, coach. She's a family therapist. I didn't know that you do an addiction counseling as well, an addiction prevention. I can't believe it. And she is the lead pastor of Beulah Harmony International. Yes, did I get that right, Pastor Julie?
You did. You did. You did. You did. Thank you so much.
You had your birthday recently, two few days ago. Happy birthday,
On
woman.
Thursday. That was on the 6th.
Yeah, wow. Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Prof,
Thank
this
you.
is,
Thank you so much.
I mentioned two names. This is their mother, I should say. All right. I see. This one is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes, yes, yes. Baby. That's what I did.
Yes.
That's what I did to them.
That's
But
what Mama T did to you guys. Blessing.
yes. Well, blessing. Good to see you. But I really appreciate you for joining us, Pastor. Julie, you deal with relationship. We were in the class together about a couple of years ago. We attended a class together.
LDM. Yes.
Yes, yes, regarding this relationship issue and stuff like so. Who to invite but you? And it's Pastor Julie is in Nigeria, by the way, and it's about 9:30 in the morning. She's done. Gay, gay. Pastor Julie, is there anything else you're doing you want us to know? You're doing that thing the lunch hour prevailing prayer for couple, for
Yes.
relationship. Yeah.
Yes.
You're doing so amazingly well, sister. I don't know, a lot.
Thank you
God will
so much. Thank you.
God will reward your hard work for mankind.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Yes, like you rightly said, I also work
Oh,
for the government.
I saw you with
With
people. Can I say
yes,
that? Yes.
yes, yes. So I work with the government as I started on as an enforcement agent for the drug law enforcement, and along the line, I diverted into prevention. I specialized in prevention and counseling and treatment.
Oh,
So, so I am also into addiction counseling, substance addiction, habit, behavioral addiction, and preventions as well. in my capacity, in my work life, that's what I do. I work in the treatment and rehab center where we do brief interventions for people who are arrested. When the enforcement team goes out and they arrest people, they bring them in. We do what's called sieving. We sieve out the users from the dealers. So while the enforcement team takes the dealers for prosecution and all, the users and all the other people who are affected by this business are given some form of intervention, and that's where I come in. We do brief interventions for them, and then those who have real severe problems are admitted into the center for residential counseling, treatment, and rehabilitation. So that's what I do apart from the family life space.
So I need to clarify, when you get the people that are dealing, then you now identify the people that are taking it, yeah? That they sell
Yes, yes, because when we go for raid operations, when the enforcement team goes for raid operations, usually you gather everybody you see because a raid operation is something you do swiftly. So at the scene of the operation, you are not able to identify who is doing what. So
it. Okay.
everybody is just taken along. Everybody is taken along and brought to the office where the environment will be safe for both the enforcement team and those the victims that were taken. Then in the office, we'll now look into their cases. Who is the dealer? Who came to purchase? Who's been using? Who's been living in the bunk because they have nowhere else to go? And all of that. Who was just passing by? And all of that. So when we do all of that, then those who were passing by are allowed to go. Those who came to buy are given some form of intervention. Those who have been living there, who are not dealers, but because of their addiction, because of
Ah,
their cognitive impairment, have been hanging around in the bunks doing nothing, just using all day, are admitted into intense treatment and counseling and treatment into the center. So that's where I come in. So for those who just came to purchase, who do not have impairment, that is, they are not, the drug use isn't having such a huge effect on them. They are given a
right.
brief intervention where they are told, how to help themselves, the effect of them continuing in that habit and all. And then those who are suffering from addictions, whose lives have been impaired one way or the other, those who are having cognitive impairment are now admitted into the center where we do intense treatment and counseling over a period of at least 4 months before they are reintegrated into the society. So that's
Amazing.
where I come in.
See, I didn't even know that much. So, like with where we are in Australia, there's welfare. So government we pay you for the service. How do you get paid? Is that federal government
Yes,
reliable?
okay, so that's my job. I'm employed into the civil service. So that's what I do as a
I
government
get it.
worker.
All
So
right.
so the family life practice is something that it's my passion. It's something I do on the side by myself because it is something that is very dear to my heart. Like you said, I went to study from my own life experiences. I went to study. I went to ask God questions. I went into praying and seeing the society, turning the marriage decision to where the way it's going. I just felt it was the right thing to do to get proper knowledge and then see how I can inform people, help other people navigate the journey of their married life. So that I do on the side by my side for calling, but for the employment, I work with the government in that capacity as an addiction counselor. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me now. Well done. Wow, well done. I
Thank
mean,
you.
your children are hearing now. You're married, you go into that relationship, you've done your counseling before you went there, you stay there.
Yeah.
Prof, have you got any question? Do you understand? Before I go into our previous question, last week we dealt with a topic which I'm going to talk about. Do you want to say anything to uh, my sister Juliana before we go into the question? What happened? Everybody is
Thank you.
What happened?
Yeah, welcome,
What
Pastor
happened? That
Juliana.
thank you
Welcome to the
so
show.
much.
Yeah, we honor to have you and just listening to some of the work that you're doing, especially
imagine.
providing services to some of the most vulnerable people within the community. I think the triage process that you've just described literally highlights the complexity of the issue
Yes.
of drugs within the community, those that are
Yeah.
exploited, those that are
Mm.
victims, but also the perpetrators. And I think this is
Mm.
where we need to understand as a society the victims of the system, but the impact on the individuals, the families, but worse, the community. Because when you have drug
Mm.
addicts within the community, nobody's actually safe within that space. So we just want
Yeah.
to say thank you for the work you are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I also have seen you training the military people once. Amazing. I
Yeah.
just pray for your, we're praying for you anyway at the back. We cover you with the blood of God and Jesus Christ. So
Thank
don't
you.
worry,
Thank you.
covering. Amazing job. Thank you so much. Should we
Thank you
go
so much.
into, that's okay. Pastor Juliana, I'm going to brief you about our last topic that we did.
Okay.
Uh, we were passionate about it. We didn't finish it. And even Prof is like, let's talk more about this. Okay. But I'm going to talk from my angle I'm looking at. Prof, you can talk from your own angle you're looking at. But the to lay the foundation is why, Pastor G, that some men or some people get into a relationship, don't let me say it, people get into a relationship. We believe that everyone has got a motive into why they
Mm.
got into a relationship. And last week we talked about prenuptial, that is maybe it's better to say it out and let us know what everybody is bringing and the expectation of everybody, rather than just say we're going into this, we lay it down with Jesus, and we're, or wherever, and we're just going to go into it blindly. God can still be in this relationship, but we can still have an understanding, because I believe that there could be something really pressing that you desire to have in a relationship. So last week we talked
Mm.
about, what if you have a child that you're bringing in as a woman, and you presented that to the husband and said, I've got a child out of wedlock. My desire is to have somebody to care. We hear that most times when a woman says this, the man they will flare up and say, no, I'm not looking after your child, or something like. Some men might accept it, but majority of people, it's like you're tasking them with this thing. But if the man does it, then the woman, most times they embrace it. Why is this? Should we normalize this stuff to always say to everyone, I'm coming into the relationship, not I love you, but again, I love this person. So if you love my dog or my cat, then automatically I will divert all the love towards you. But if you don't want that, even if I marry you, even if I marry you, I will not be at peace. So that's the angle I'm looking. Should we normalize it? Should we be saying upfront, let it be part of the constitution that we all say the truth,
Okay.
rather than not saying it out, but you have it in your mind. Maybe I want you to build a house for my mother, but I can't tell you that. Not you building it, but that's what I desire. So how can we as a couple work together to ensure that I'm able to accomplish that for my mother? Because my mother
Okay.
suffered so much for me. That's the angle I'm looking at.
Yes. Okay.
I
Prof.
guess
I get you completely.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, Pastor Juliana, because we had an in-depth discussion, and this is really
Okay.
about pre-disclosure. I
Right.
think if somebody finds out later, then that's problematic. But you need to be upfront, and somebody makes what we will say an informed decision, right? So they give their consent, because and it's not just consent, but informed, because they've got the details of the situation. You've just not given them some superficial information, and then there are things that they don't know. And I think it's really important that if that information is disclosed, then that person is given an opportunity to make a decision based on that. But if they're not given that opportunity, there shouldn't be an expectation that they will just simply say yes or no along with it. They should be given the choice and the option. What are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you so much. So this is what I think. It's been for my line of advocacy. I have said to young people, especially to women, in fact, to every young person as a whole, intending to get into a marriage, first be
Right.
self aware. Do not go into the marriage as some form of employment. Do not see the marriage as going to it as running as an escape route for from hunger or poverty. So, as a man, as a woman, be established first. By establishment, I mean you have a source of income. You have a means by which you can take care of your basic needs. When you have that empowerment, you'll be able to negotiate properly. I call it the power of negotiation. So you negotiate properly. A person comes into your life and you get into this friendship and say, oh, okay, so I like, yeah, how we are. I like what we have. Can we take it a step further? Can we go deeper? And the conversation would be, all right, I am willing to go deeper with you, but this is what I think. These are my terms. This is who I am. This
Right.
is what I expect from life. This is what I expect from life. This is where I am going to in life. So, like Mama T said, I call her Mama T. That's what my siblings call her to me. And so I have just imbibed the name. So I call her Mama T. So, like Mama T said, I have a
Temi.
kid. I didn't plan to have a child outside wedlock. I didn't plan to be a single parent, but something happened along the line and I have a kid, or I have two kids. And if I'm going to go further in this relationship with you, I'll be coming with the two kids. Are you up? Are you game? Would you want to do this with me with the kids?
Right.
If you will, fine, we are going to work things, modalities out. So I am not just going to come into the relationship and say, okay, take my two kids and look after them. I am going to ensure that I have the means with which to look after them. I'll just expect you to bring in some form of emotional support for the kids because they would need both of us in the relationship. So if
Right.
along the line our relationship is so strong and productive that you are willing to contribute any otherwise, like financially or otherwise, to the upkeep of the kids, it will be a welcome development. But I'm not going to force them on you and say you must look after them for me. So,
Mhm.
yes, I agree that people should have this conversation. I was saying to people in our fellowship the other day, I said, the time has come when we should be asking questions like, um, twosome. I hear people talk about twosome. People say they got into a marriage and they found out that the man enjoys twosome. The man enjoys threesome. Threesome means you want to bring another woman to add to
Right.
your woman, and the three of you
Mm.
are making out. It's called threesome. That's the kind of madness that is happening in society these days. So people should be open to talk about things like that.
Right.
Is that the kind of
Ah.
thing you want to do?
This is where we have to talk about consent, but also that informed consent, really
Mhm.
Yes,
pre-disclosure, really, because I think it is
exactly.
unfair to every party, especially when kids are involved. It's really respectful, whether it's male or female, within that relationship, to
Yes,
understand, the expectations from other
of the
side,
other
and
party.
really make a
Exactly.
decision, yeah, based on where they are in life. And when we talk about children, we also have to think that there are different age ranges and there are different responsibilities. And in some of the
Exactly.
situations that you were describing, for example, a 2-year-old's responsibility is different to a 23-year-old's responsibility
Mm.
in terms of children coming into the relationship. So those are some of
Yes.
the considerations that must be discussed. But also, I think it would be very wrong, and I don't understand how Mama T got this topic, but it's a very complex topic, as we all know. But
Mhm.
I think the key is being truthful. The key is being honest to either party and really giving people
Be
that opportunity to decide, not having the expectation that they
to
must
decide
go along
exactly.
the direction that you want to go. But also, we have to also remember that people are talking about children. Children also have a mind of their own, right?
Mhm.
The male coming into that relationship or the female coming into that relationship where they're already children, they could do everything right. But the children may also have their own
Refuse to accept.
expectations. So those are some of where that some will act. I was actually in where was I before this trip? I think in Egypt, and I met this wonderful couple who were in a spa together in Egypt. And this couple, they had come from South America and they were visiting. And it was really interesting because the three ladies were in the spa with me. And then we got talking. Then they found out I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And we had this interesting discussion. Well, one was the mother to the daughter, and the girls were probably one was in her 20s and the other young woman was almost 30. And then the mother was somewhere in her 40s. So her
Oh,
daughter was in her 20s, and the
oh,
other lady was her stepdaughter. And she appeared to be closer to her stepdaughter, who was close to 30, than even her own daughter. And the four
wow.
of us had a wonderful conversation. And there was something that mother and stepdaughter were trying to impart on the daughter. And the daughter was the half sibling of this other child because she was from the marriage to the father of this other young woman. And you can see that there, it was clear that there had been a very long-term established relationship because she may have come into that relationship when this other young woman was quite young and she helped to raise her, right? It's a
Mm.
very different scenario if she was much older. So the expectations, and I think both parties would have done a great job, an enormous amount of work, I'm sure,
Mhm.
from the father, from the wife, and also from the daughter to have that wonderful relationship where the four of them were actually on holiday together. Of course, it was a ladies' bath area,
You
so the father
went?
could not join, and the three women were together, and I came in, and it was just wonderful to see.
I like it. So the
Wow.
reason, yeah, the reason why I got this is beautiful. I think that woman was given was given maybe disclosure or somewhat. She accepted this child from maybe a younger age and they
Yeah.
bonded together. So this thing is possible. And what
It's
I
possible.
yeah, what I tried to bring out is I had someone that had was in the same situation, never told the husband that she got this child and is a boy, grown up now over 40 years, but the current husband never knew. How do you keep this secret? So that's why I'm saying that how do we now start to solicit and advocate, as you said, Pastor Juliana, that people should be free to express whatever they had in their heart or they are bringing into the relationship and as a family, because I'm saying this because I'm actually getting understanding myself, because we're the type of people that if my child says I've got a girl, she's got a child, and I want to marry, whatever, I might be, no, 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 you can't do that. We don't want, you know what I mean? Because of one thing or the other, but we need to start speaking to ourselves because these people that had these children out of wedlock, there could be a situation, like you said, that is beyond their control that they got themselves into. It's not that they are frivolous or they are street girls, it's a different situation. But things happen to people, that things like this might
And
happen.
people make mistakes, right? It's normal for humans.
And do you know what somebody said the other day? That person said the fact that you didn't have a child during your youthful age, you escaped it or you were lucky, doesn't mean you didn't do anything, right? Because it's not everybody
Exactly.
that abstained. But so you didn't abstain. You were in uni, you were having a boyfriend, and you slept with the boyfriend. What if you had a child, but you didn't have a child? You were lucky. So don't chastise and condemn the people that were unfortunate or fortunate to have a child. A lady was
It's
saying,
out.
"Is it?" I don't know. One of
Child
the
is a blessing, people.
Yes, one of the ladies in your Nigeria, maybe Pastor Julie, you saw the lady. I forgot her name now. It was this. It wasn't Tiwa Savage. One of those ones was saying that if she hadn't got that child out of wedlock in secondary school, she wouldn't have had a child there because she's got nothing. All she's got is that one. So she said, "I'm
I think
grateful."
it's Waje.
Waje, God bless you, was
Waje.
Waje. Listen to Waje's story. Thank God she had, and she really loved the boy. She was gonna marry the boy at the time, but the boy ran. Things happened, and now she had a child. If somebody condemning her or whatever, it wasn't her fault. But either way, she's happy today. That is what is important. Like
Mama
that.
T, I was not a teen, whatever, but I was a young mother in a marriage situation. And I
Right.
made that informed decision to leave
True. That's
at
true.
a very young age, like in my early 20s, like at a
Wow.
very young age. And there were people who met me along the way. And I recall when I was doing my master's at Melbourne Uni, uh, a long time ago. And I remember meeting this young person, was really nice, wonderful, professional, and building. I think we're probably a year apart in age, etc. And it was like, oh my God, this amazing person. But
See?
I was going to I had to pass my two daughters back then as my siblings because I was that young. And I literally, and that for me, that was the end of the relationship because it was just not right because
And
he
the
said the
person
parents will
loves
never accept it. Like you
exactly.
come with everything, the education, the this, the that, the that. But that was an aspect that he felt culturally it was going to be a barrier.
You see?
But because I think I was probably 25 at the time or something, if I could pass them as siblings rather than my own children, then it was, which was easy to do, right? But I
Hmm.
refused that option.
It was.
Why? I refuse that option regardless. It does not mean that I did not value that person. Yes, I
Hmm.
did value them, etc. I did respect them, but I just thought it was not right. And I was not going to live
It
a
wasn't.
life for the rest of my life. And can you think about somebody then finding out 5 years later, 10 years later? And I've got another very good example of a friend of mine who of Caucasian background here, and she had a child when she was 16. So clearly that was a different situation. And back
Right.
then with the Anglo families, most often than not, they took her to a mother's home. She had the baby. She had already lost her mother before that time, and her father was the only sole parent. And she had, I think, 4 or 5 brothers, and she was the only daughter. So they
Wow.
made her give up the child. She would
Tragic.
later remarry. She had children that were friends to my own children here. None of us knew, and I mean, we were very, very, very close. And a few
Wow.
years ago, her daughter, now in her 30s, had been looking for her biological mother. And she had
Oh,
2 children of her own. And I think when she became a mother,
Wow.
it was very clear to her how important it was to find her own mother. And that is
mm,
how she then found, through the records, she found her mother. Mind you, she was 16. The decision was out of her control. She had to
yeah.
give this child up.
Mm,
But when she married, she did disclose it to her husband. But the children that were born in her marriage, they never knew that they had an older sibling. And it was a
wow.
shock. It was
Wow.
a shock. So you can imagine you always knew that it's only two of you, and suddenly you realize you have an older sister, but you
There's
are
a
also an
third.
aunt and an uncle. So these are some of the things that people need to be mindful of because
Right.
these children are humans. They've got
Mm,
their own minds, and they've got a right to be part
Yeah.
of the parents' lives. So it's really something we should respect.
Yes, you're very correct, Pro. So, like Mama T said earlier, Mama T was asking, should we normalize signing a prenuptial? Now, beyond signing the nuptial, I believe that we should rather create the awareness, let the people know, just as we are saying. Because if we say, let it become legal, let it become a law that people must sign prenuptials, again, human beings are going to find a way around it. It's not going to be foolproof. The
Mhm.
idea is for people to become aware that we do not have control of life. We do not have
Mhm.
control of how our lives unfold. So, because the things you think you're hiding today, 5 years, 6, 7, 10 years down the line, may not be
Well,
hidden anymore.
that's right.
Truly.
They they find a way of popping out themselves. It is said that the truth is like a football you try to suppress in water. It will keep struggling until it will find its way back to the surface. So if these things, yeah, so if these things are covered, somehow, somewhere along the line, they will come out to the surface. And when they do come out to the surface, they become distressing, embarrassing, sometimes
Yeah,
traumatizing.
right.
Now, so the best thing is to begin to educate people, especially those of us in the family life space, when we do premarital counseling, to let the couple, to let the people, the parties involved know that if there is anything that you would want your partner to know in future, or if there is anything you think that your partner is going to find out in future, come out open. That's
Right.
why the Bible says Adam and Eve and his wife, they were naked and they were not ashamed. So if there is anything you need your partner to know, be open, come
Mhm.
out, be vulnerable, and say these things out. If you say these things out, I mean the disclosure,
Right.
and the other person decides that they cannot go along with it, you are safeguarding yourself from the trouble that would have happened in future when they do find out, because it
Mhm.
will definitely come out to the surface. The person will find out someday, somehow. So the reaction they have now is better now that you are not yet married than for them to find out later and then it becomes an issue in the marriage. So beyond insisting that we make it legal for people to
Right.
sign the prenuptial, it is
Mhm.
better to have the awareness, to put out the information and let people begin to know and get the understanding that as human beings, beyond the law insisting that we do, we ourselves must first realize that I need to
Love it.
be open. If I am going to share my life with this person, I need to be open from the outset, from the word go, from the very beginning. Let this person know me as I am. And then
I
let
Mhm.
them
think
make their
that is
decision.
acceptance, right? And you cannot
Yes,
build a foundation on lies because
True.
you
most
can.
often than not, the relationships crumble when you find out something 10 years later. There are things that can be really, really hurtful, right? If they were
Devastating,
not
yes.
discussed. And I think if you want to build, but hiding a child from a prospective partner, I think
Mhm.
that's the worst thing that anybody can do because what does that also mean in terms of your own relationship with that child? You don't have to have a perfect relationship with the children. None of us do, right? And every
Mhm.
child is different, as one of my daughters said to me. And
Yeah.
because and they have different expectations of the parents because you have these children at different stages in your life, whether married or non-married. Maybe the first child came in when you were trying to build the second one. Then by the time the fourth or the fifth comes in, you are very established. So the resources are different. Hence, you have different attention and
That's
and different relationships with each of them.
that's true.
These are things that need to be considered. So
Mhm.
hence, when we think about the disclosure, and you said something about prenuptials, I think from an African cultural perspective, people see a prenup as this person is coming in with an intention probably to exit the relationship. But
That's
then
the
Exactly.
from a
point.
Western perspective, you look at it as an honest protection for both parties should anything go wrong. And I've had the opportunity to experience and see both in action. And I think maybe 25, 30 years ago, I would have said, oh, you really cannot do that because you're planning to leave that person. But then you turn around, as you understand the context of the societies that we live in today, you say to yourself, it is really, really, really important for that person, especially if they had children before. I think it is important for them to have those protections in place for those children, right? That is not about greed. It is really about respecting all the other people who have been involved in the relationship before you. And I think that actually sets a solid foundation for both parties, right? So I think you talked about legalizing it. I don't think people need to go down the path of or legalizing prenups, etc. I think it is much about giving people the education and the opportunities, but also the skills to understand the importance of having such protections in place for them, but importantly for their partner as well. Because what happens if something were to happen to you and you're married to that person, you are in that healthy relationship with that person, and there are no protections, or you are in a relationship that is very very meaningful to both of you, but you are not legally married, you need to have protection so that there can be some support for that person. And we know that it is not the person who is older who is going to die first, or the person who is younger. It's really about looking after each other, especially we are educated people. There are certain mistakes that people should not make, because most often than not, like, I mean, we had a show here on TV where one of the mothers was very, very fair. She had 4 children, divided whatever she had, a few $100,000 equally to those 4 children. But one of the son, so there were 4 children, 3 daughters and a son. Apparently, the son was quite greedy and he wanted more because he said, I lived in the house with mom, so I need to have more. But their mom had been very, very fair to all her children, treated them equally. And as a result, they had to go down the family court, right? And in the course of doing that, they had to draw down on the estate, right? In
Yeah.
order to fund the legal system. And at the end of the day, they were left with a fraction. So
Wow.
there are things like that that you really need to think about. You know, there are greedy people. Is that person greedy with the siblings? What is going to happen in terms of greed with the partner? Because the sisters were, our mother was fair, but their sibling was not fair to the siblings. What about the partner? What about subsequent children, etc.? So I think it's really common sense, and it's really about respecting everybody. But really importantly, you must disclose, never hide your children. They're your blood. If the other party doesn't accept that that is part of the relationship, then you can make a decision, right? And there are some, I've seen people really want to accept the children, but most often than not, some of the children have been so difficult and to that new partner, right? And in this situation, the lady had a child, and the guy was good man, really good man, supported came in, was very happy, had known the father of the child. So there was a type of an established friendship as well. But then as the child grew older, got into drugs, and then will beat up the stepfather. So when the mom finally got the child out of the house, and then he lived in another country for a period of time. But then when the child had to come back, you know what? The father packed his bag, as in the stepdad, the husband, packed everything, not leaving the relationship, literally just moved back to their home country because
Oh.
he was in love with his wife. He wanted the relationship, but he knew that having that older son, whose own biological father struggled with, so it had nothing to do with any of the parents. It was because you can do whatever you want to do with children, but again, they're individuals. And as they grow older, they become independent
Their
humans.
own
And those
person.
are some of the things that you have to also accept, whether you're a biological parent or a step parent.
Right. So that's fair
Yeah.
enough. I like what you said. That's a different scenario, and I like the fact that the mother was. Oh, this mother didn't do anything initially.
No, she
The
was understanding.
initially the mother kicked him out, so he left, but then he came back. So when he came
Absolutely.
back, it became a problem. That's a different scenario
The mother
entirely.
sent him to the biological father in the
And then
interim. He stayed with the biological father for a period of time, and the biological father actually struggled. Then, when he had to come back, the stepfather literally packed himself and
Said
left
he
the
couldn't
family
handle it.
home. Not because he had a problem with the wife or anything, he knew all of them. So the three parents had done whatever they could for that child. So
yeah,
there are
so
things that as humans, there's no more, you can only do so much.
I've
All
got
right, Mama
doctor.
T, Mama T, you know me. I know you know when I got married,
Yes,
and
I do.
you may not know that I found myself in kind of this situation. So I married my husband after he lost his first wife. So
Yeah.
I came into the marriage and met um, a bunch of children.
Oh,
And
bunch.
bunch, bunch. I met a bunch of children.
Bunch. I
I met a
like
bunch
that.
of children in at different age ranges. Now, the youngest was 5 at the time. The oldest was 9, was 21. Yes, the oldest was 21. The youngest was 5. There were
Hey.
three biological, 3 adopted. You know us now in Nigeria. There were, yeah, it's Mama T, you're opening your mouth. So there were sisters, brothers' kids, late brothers' kids too, late wife's cousin, and then the 3 biological kids. Now, I came into the picture with the mind of a Christian woman. I am going to love the kids and I'm going to treat them like my own and I'm going to, but like Prof said earlier, were they willing to take me like their own?
It's
Now
true.
that brings now that brings us to the issue of the prenuptial. If I had signed a prenuptial, probably I would have dropped it and said, "I don't do again. I'm done. This is hard."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had grown to. I was a fully grown woman. I had financial independence. I may not have plenty of money, but I could feed myself.
Yeah.
So when I
You
found
had
myself in that
be humble. You had money, I know. Okay, go ahead.
so when I found myself in that situation, I what I did was I gave it my all. Now that for me is what we need to be having. You need to have the understanding because I got the picture from the beginning. I was told this is what's on ground and this is what I have. My husband said to me, "This is what
So
I
there was
have.
that
This is what
disclosure. There
yes,
was that
this is what
disclosure.
I
So you
have."
came in with a very open mind as well. But there's also something, I'm not
Determined.
cutting you. We don't have to try to be the other parent. Children must be, if you are the father, you have to know that there is that other father. If you're coming in, you need the permission of the children to say, I am a woman, but I may not be your mother. I'll do my best. Because sometimes that's where the rejection, when people want to then
So those
erase the person's biological parent.
yeah, so that thing
There's
comes from having the right understanding and having the right conversation.
Yeah.
So
that's a
let's
complicated.
normalize having the conversation. That the bottom line is let's educate the people to begin to have the conversation. Talk about
Right.
these things. Like Mama T said it when she started in her introduction. She said, I may want to build a house for my mother. My mother has really worked for me. I need to build her a house. I would like you to build her a house. Now, it will much as it will be unkind to put that responsibility on someone else, you could have the conversation that this is where I'm coming from. This is what we have been through. With growing up with my mom, this is how we have had to live in very unsatisfactory situation. And today I have found myself in this. My greatest desire is to build my mom a house.
That's
So
it.
as I am working, I would like to save money to build my mom a house. Now, if the man coming into my life, or if it is a woman coming into the man's life, it will be her place to say, all right, I will love you enough to contribute to your desire to build your mom a house.
Yes.
But from the outset, from the beginning, we are getting into this journey knowing that I would love to build my mom a house in my lifetime. So
But could
that's
I
the
just add
disclosure,
to
that's
that
the
point,
agreement, that's the
Prof?
understanding we have from the beginning. Yes.
Madam Juliana, just on that point, I'm not cutting you short, but I just want to have a little bit in the discussion, but exploration into, I think, some of the cultural expectations, because I think there can be a pressure sometimes on the men to do certain things that they cannot afford as well. And I just think people should really be realistic about their
Right.
expectations. The fact that
Yes.
somebody is married to your child really is not their responsibility to build you a home. And if your
We are
child,
not
son or
building you
daughter
up.
can do it, that's okay. But I just think there's pressure on some of the son-in-laws, which is not fair at all.
Which is
And
not fair. And that's why
that's
the
what
conversation is necessary.
that's what you said earlier, that you need to go into relationship, you know, stabilized. You need to have something doing. Don't
Aware.
go
Exactly.
aware and don't go as a
Exactly.
parasite, not living on the man to build a house for you. But I think what I'm trying to get at is exactly what you said, Pastor Julie, that when we have a financial capability, because we can have excess, but our primary, we have what your primary assignment is. You know what my primary assignment is. It depends on whose we want to do first. Do we want to build a house for the husband family first, or my first? But you need to know what we're budgeting and what we're both working. It's not your money, it's both of our money, because I'm working, you're working. So this is what I desire.
But you
If
must
my
have your own home first. I'm not doing whatever here. Because
you
one
see,
of the
I
things I've
might
seen
not
the
want
struggles in Australia is that people don't have a home of their own. And they're
no,
trying to have this pressure to do this because they want to fit into this into a type of an imaginary status quo, which
But
I think is
Prof,
wrong. And at the
Prof,
end of the
Prof,
day,
I
there's
think what we are
struggles
talking about,
everywhere.
Prof, what we are talking about is the couple, the two people coming into a relationship.
Yeah.
We want to come to a point where before people get into a point where they are getting married, they should understand what they want. They should have
exactly.
Yeah.
this communication and let the other person understand these are my expectations, these are my struggles, this is what I want to do, this is what I would like to do. Let the other person be in the know and be in the picture, and let that person go think about it and decide
But they have
whether
to
they
be
want to come along.
realistic expectations. I just think sometimes, and I say that as somebody who travels quite a bit, some cultural expectations
Yeah,
are
well, fair enough.
significantly burdening some of the prospective partners. And unfortunately, I don't know, I advocate a lot for women, but there's sometimes we have to be realistic. The burden
I
inevitably
agree.
tends to fall on the men most
The
often than
man.
not. And it's most often than not, it is not realistic because the son-in-law of X did X. It does not mean your son-in-law must do it when he is trying to build
Exactly.
a life for his own young family. So, and this is where having that conversation, maybe if your family is putting certain expectations, us women in particular, we have a responsibility to also empower. And I think this is where that it is not just education, it is about empowering individuals to
Mhm.
really understand realities and people not giving others false expectations of what is realistic. And that, Mama Temi, you
I'm
know me
back.
with this.
Yeah,
What
Should be
Professor.
fair.
what
I
was
don't
coming
know.
to
I don't know if you ladies, if
go ahead, go
I don't
ahead.
know if you ladies noticed that Nigeria showed it. My Nigeria showed herself along the line. I lost the public power. I don't know if you noticed, and it's been restored. I don't know if you noticed, but that's
Initially we
Nigeria
did.
for you.
Yeah, initially we did, but this
You
time we
said,
didn't. We didn't.
I
okay, no,
didn't.
okay. So power's been restored, and I think the lighting is better now.
Okay. Now, yeah,
I
the
didn't.
lighting actually is better. I could see that it's brighter. But anyway, I was trying to
Yes.
think about those people when you're talking about expectation, that's cultural thing that I don't know how to talk about this. The family that are getting married, young couple getting married, and you're demanding $20,000 for dowry. What is that? 20, thirty
That's
thousand dollars for
exploitation by the
that
parents.
is crazy. If my
Again,
son
again, Mama
married,
T, again, Mama T. Let me just cut it short with my
yes,
experience. That is why I advocate. Much as I am not saying that people should wait until they get to the age where I was before they get married. I am saying that it is good to be of independence.
I want to hear that properly.
Okay, while she's
Youngest,
reconnecting,
I want to hear that point because I want. Can you?
yep,
We lost you. We lost you.
we lost
okay,
you.
so I'm saying that when I was getting, in fact, when my younger ones got married before me, but because I had reached one stage, I was mature enough. I was completely self-aware and independent, and so
That's
I
true.
had the say. I had the say when the list for my sisters. Okay, Tessie was the first of my sisters to get married. When she
Yeah.
was getting married, I had a say. I said, "You can't bring a list. This is a
What?
young man, fresh out of school. You can't give him a list. We are going to ensure that the barest minimum, I mean, what is the required bride price? Let's put that down. Because in my culture, you have to bring a box, put clothes
Of
in the box for the mom, put clothes in the box.
yes.
Exactly. Put some certain kind of wrappers. So we just said, let the guy do what he can because this is
Oh.
a young man. And
Even
that
then,
was what happened. Even then,
even
yes.
even then.
Mama T, Mama T, you can confirm from Tessie. So even then, because I was, and if I wasn't there, probably Tessie may not have because she was quite young.
Yeah.
So what am I saying? I am saying that
Mm.
let's begin to, much as we have the awareness, especially the women, let us begin to grow to a point where you can have a say. So that where the culture is saying that the man must bring the whole world, you should be able to stand firm and say, no,
Good one.
no,
Good.
he does not have to bring the whole world. He does not. And then you have to
Good.
rise up and help the person. So when I was getting married,
Mm.
in my case, it was funny because the day we were discussing it in my house, my I had lost my dad then, but my older brother who was standing in for my father and my mother and myself, we had this meeting, and my brother had the list from my uncles, and we were
Yeah.
looking at the list. I just took it from my brother, and I took a
Ah.
biro, and I crossed out. Hey, Mama T, ask my sister. I crossed out this one. I crossed out the other one. I crossed out some of the things that were outrageous, and I said, is he supposed to give something to the mother? They said yes. Okay, he's going to provide something to the mother. Is he supposed to give something to the father? They said yes. All right, he will bring that to the father. Is he supposed to give something to the family? They said yes. Okay, he'll do that. Every other thing is frivolous. So I cut all of that out,
Love it.
and that was what we did. So instead of putting this burden on someone, that's why, and that is where the conversation comes in. And so I had a conversation with my husband. Um, we are not going to have this flamboyant wedding
Wedding.
because
Wow.
there are other things to attend to. There are lots of things to handle. And so I was not going to say that because it took this long for me to get married, and now that I'm finally getting married, I'm going to make a statement. Statement for who? For what? So
Wow.
it was just a little thing to have my marriage ceremony, and then we come back to begin to face our life. And my husband is forever grateful for that. He's
Wow.
eternally grateful for that. So let's, as we are in the family life space, let's begin to let people, especially during premarital counseling, let them understand that you need to have this kind of awareness, maturity, and independence to be able to um,
To
rise
have
up and
mm,
defend and protect against some of these cultural expectations that may not
ex-
sit well for the couple. The idea for me is the well-being of the two people who are going to be in that union, because when they are going to be having tensions and quarrels, I have heard of situations where a man was billed so much that after he paid all the bills to marry the woman, he got home and began to resent her. He
oh.
began to resent the lady because he spent too much for the marriage
To
ceremony. It was like they
really
made me spend, they sucked him dry. They made me spend all that money. I am now in debt. And then there was crisis from a journey, a lifelong journey, beginning
mm,
with crisis because of the cultural expectations. So, but
yeah.
if the lady is mature enough and strong enough, independent enough to be able to say, okay, so this is what I want for my marriage. This is what I don't want. We are going into this. We're becoming families. My family, his family are becoming one family. So let's make not make us suffer because
Right.
of one thing that does not make sense. So the
You know
idea
what I
is to
like?
have,
I
yeah,
love this conversation. I'm sure probably you enjoy. I love this conversation.
I'm
I,
enjoying it. There are two.
I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it like no man's business, and I'll tell you why later. Let's finish
Well,
your conversation.
there are 2 points that she's raised. There
I
is
got
the
many points. I got it.
there is the issue of dowry, and then
Mhm.
there are expectations with the
Right.
age and maturity. And I think you address those very, very clearly because you were mature.
Mhm.
And let me just go back to dowry and expectation. I think people need to take a step back and ask, what is the definition of a dowry? It was a cultural, symbolic something to say thank you for raising a daughter and who is going to be a mother or a wife to our family. It was really, really bare minimum. It was symbolic. It was a recognition. And the whole idea was that during the process of paying the dowry, somebody was going to therefore meet the extended family and they get to know the family. This is where they'll do the palm wines on. It was really the bare minimum, really the basics. And today people have monetized it
Yeah.
in terms of cows. And somebody looked at me not long ago and said, if you were from their community, you've got a PhD, you've got this, you're tall, you're beautiful. And they put this list. And for each of those categories, it was somewhere between 50 to 100 cows because everything was measured in cows, right? And, I laughed my heart out. But you can imagine
Mm.
that being the expectation for somebody to pay as a result of wanting to get married to you. That's a burden from the outset. Another
it's a
thing you
burden.
talked about was the maturity of the woman, and for her being able to analyze the situation, look at the context, and make certain decisions. For example, analyzing the list and say, what is fair, what is not fair. That comes with age.
Mm.
Hence, I told my girls, none of you get married before you are 25. And the reason I say, yes, you really don't. It doesn't mean you cannot have a boyfriend while at uni or anything, but really making that commitment, and that applies to my son as well, right?
These days, these
Yeah,
days.
and why? Because I was not given that opportunity to get to that mature age, not because anybody forced me, but again, that education, that empowerment was not there.
Was
And as a
lacking.
result, I felt like there was some sort of, I wasn't ready. And that is why I made the informed decision. Nobody told me to leave. I made you, Mama Temi, I made
Yeah.
that informed decision to say, and everybody's like, are you going to cope on your? I say, yes, I will, because I just don't think this was fair and this was right. But when somebody is of a certain age, they can make certain mature decisions. So any relationship where I sit, for example, now, if I had to be there, it is a choice, it is a decision, and a decision that you want to be happy in that space, right? And I
Mm.
think people should really think about these things and take it very, very, very seriously.
Very, very serious.
It's a
You're
commitment.
right.
I just don't know what to, what to say because you've opened the can of worms everywhere. Like where do we I'm writing a lot down here as you talk. But of course uh we're gonna have Pastor Julie on the show. I'm gonna beg her, like, please help me to beg your husband. That having you. But thank you so much for sharing what you shared with us. And that is another conversation, another topic entirely, because I have series of incident that is currently next to me about the going into relationship with all this bunch. I have it a lot right now, and I will share that. And I mean, I've been given opportunity to talk about it, but you mentioned it, so we're going to talk about it. Next week, though, we're talking about trauma. And that's another twist. You mentioned trauma and it's related to this story. That's going
It
to be
is.
our big topic. But the dowry, the point I want to make about the dowry and the decision you made. With my dowry, my family didn't collect anything much because we
Yes.
were young. In fact, in my suitcase that they're supposed to put Hollandis, they put all my mother-in-law's clothes. That was
Mm,
what, and it was heavy to carry, but my mother-in-law. There's
mm,
nothing there because my husband just finished uni. We were young. We didn't have anything. So similar. I mean, it was working, but it was barely making ends meet. But what I like that you said, that's why I like this show and I like this conversation, because what that brought to me is that my father made that decision. Even the dowry money, my father returned it to us. I had a father that did that. But what this conversation brought now is to bring awareness to me. If that happened to be my child, and then they bring in this list, what will I do? So this now is registering that you don't need to go with that list that they might bring from the village. And if you have to do, then you foot it. But this poor boy that is coming into your relationship, your family,
mm,
is not going to
mm-hmm.
suffer. So what I'm
Yes.
saying is you open many of our minds too. When you have a list, even though it's cultural, is the circumstances of your partner, is it
Mm,
can it cope? So it's
yes.
good for you as a lady to have a say, because most of the time we don't have a say. We just say, do this, oh, I'm married, uncle decide, everybody decide, you sit down like a fool. So you need to grow up. That's what
I think that's a cultural thing there as well. I
no,
think in
no,
Nigeria, the cultural expectations of on the women and their family, it's really steep as well.
it's Steve, but now people are speaking, and that is
People
what
are
we're
speaking up and standing up to it. Yes. People
and
are
starting.
speaking.
Exactly. So this is good. I like that. I also like the fact that we said to upfront disclosure. Disclose. Don't hide a child. And also, if you have some, we're just talking about child, but it could be something else that you desire. Don't die in relationship not being able to share with your partner. That is
Talk
a
about
relationship.
sexually transmissible diseases,
Oh my gosh.
disclosure, health,
you,
hepatitis, all
somebody,
whatever they
people,
have, disclosure
I
complete.
know someone that disclosed and the wife still married him anyway. They were managing it. They still went, went ahead with relationship. She was happy.
Yes.
She can manage it. So disclose. Let us. We're talking now to keep what is awareness. Let's keep the awareness going, because if there's no conversation like this to open your brain, our brain tends to be dull and locked down, but conversation will open it up. Let's create an
Yes.
awareness. And as family, when your child brings somebody and there's a situation that they bring, don't be quick to judge. Imagine someone missing prof. That's a loss of a lifetime. Imagine if that was to be my brother that wanted to marry you or my uncle, and then they lose you. Imagine. That's a lot. That's a big loss. So don't be quick to judge people because of this and that, and then you judge and you want to go to this girl that was. I don't want to talk too much about it, but seriously, let us be more aware. Let us be more informed and educated about things. And let us keep watching Hanging Out with Temi. Subscribe, like it, and share it. This is amazing. Normally we don't go this far, but because we have we
It
have
was an interesting conversation.
behind it today, you just open everything like, oh my gosh, where are we going? But thank you so very much, my sister from another, but I appreciate you.
I
We'll see you.
appreciate you.
Our topic, trauma, that's what it is. That's going to be next week. Prof, you are a gem. This woman, yesterday she was in Kenya, the day before she suffered, but then she will always say
And
to you,
yes.
show must go on, and I will log in. Bless. Thank you for blessing the world and sharing your wisdom and
Thank you.
intellectual skills with all of us. We love you and we appreciate you.
Same here.
Pastor
Thank you.
Julie,
Thanks,
and to everybody,
Thanks,
thanks
audience.
for
Bye
having
bye.
me. Bye. Bye.
bye
Nice
for
to meet
now.
you.